I'd never seen a pair of tits that big in my entire life.
I know, right?
I know. Bro, shit, we're live.
And welcome everyone to the 10K Rum podcast. My name is Amos Joseph, joined by my co-host Brook Potter, who's in the UK. How's it going, man?
It's going, bro. I am tired. You see this 2 podcast shit a day? I can't keep this up. I'm an old man now. You guys should be taking care of me.
Yes, and
with that said, I'm doing pretty all right at this point. I got a little bit of water. I might need some coffee. It's raining. It's windy. It's cold. It's miserable. Welcome to the UK. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing very well. And it's good you should mention that, since we are such busy people doing all these podcasts with all this equipment that we totally bought ourselves. We did. We're not for everyone who's joining us for the very first time, this is the 10K Rum podcast where Brooke and I talk about a whole variety of topics. But if you guys are, or first time person, long time viewer, we do want to thank you for watching, and we do ask you to click the like button, leave a comment at the end of the show if you want to share something, subscribe to the channel, and of course check out. We have 2 different things we offer our viewers. We have, first off, we have the tactical soap, which is basically, here we go, there. Their Grondike Soap Company comes up with these really awesome soaps that I use. A lot of people that I know use them. It's all natural stuff. It doesn't have a lot of chemicals that can mess with different things. And they do a really good job too. They actually do better, I think. I use them to wash my hands and as body wash too.
Wash your balls?
Exactly. I mean, it raises the testosterone levels everywhere. If you put enough on your finger, it's like, it's your finger has more game than anything. Now, if you guys go on their website, go to just type in tacticalsoap.com on Google, and then not Google, but in your browser, of course. I use Chrome, the better browser. But if you go on and then you type in, and when you're buying anything, you type in 10KRUM. That's in our little Chiron below. 10K Rum, all is one word. They give you 10% off, and of course, we get a little bit of a kickback for supporting them. Therefore, you guys supporting us through that way, and you get a little something cool out of it. We also have the Subscribe Star, the better alternative to Patreon Discord server, so you can talk to us a lot more. We're still building on that, so we don't have too many people to really make it worth moving forward. But that's just like a basic, hey, $1 a month. That's a pretty easy way to kind of support us. Now, the other one is the $5 where you get the raw takes videos. We do like anywhere from 1 to whole 4 videos a month. It's like an extra show where we'll talk anywhere between 20 minutes to a whole hour of something that maybe we won't talk about as much on the channel. No, we're not going to get into some crazy like conspiracy theory stuff, although we'll explore that. Sometimes we use that as a way so we can talk about things without YouTube shutting us down. If we like say certain names, words, just like how today we're not talking about the one thing in the title.
The coof.
Of course, exactly. So the coof, the sweet and sour sicken, the woo flu, kung flu, all that. Someone called it the Modelo virus. The bad beer virus, all sorts of stuff. But of course, check out all those links below, and we will, of course,
we got to hail out our top tier.
We do. So we have one of our top tiers, which is the $25 tier for Edmundo. He is our top subscriber. He pays $25 a month to support us. It's huge. That's why, which we appreciate him just as much. But if you do the $1, we're not going to say your name. No, we thank the support for all of our, like, for anything everyone does. It supports, it takes certain expenses out of the show for us to run the show on a weekly basis. Things like, running through StreamYard, things like running, so on Facebook, we'll do like little campaigns where like I'll throw $10 at one thing, Brooke will throw $10 at another thing, and we'll just like try to get like engagement on certain posts because Facebook doesn't like small pages for some reason. It goes towards things like that, and then of course the long term is, we're hoping that the show could eventually become like a self-sustaining thing. But that's down the road. So any amount that you guys can help with, we appreciate all of that, but especially a huge shout out to Edmundo. So let's get into it. That only took 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to quickly add on to what you've just said. Yeah, guys, we are doing this out of a labor of love. It's been 3 years, hasn't it? We've been doing these shows for 3 years.
So
July,
so in July we're gonna have to do like a special 3-year show.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. And then what else? I was thinking about some other ideas, but we'll have to talk about that later. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyways, you were saying 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. And I mean, yeah, guys, the equipment. I mean, anybody who's been watching the stream, they know we've come far. We've invested in a lot of equipment. I've recently put in, quite a chunk because we're doing more and more podcasting right now. And we do this out of our own pocket, out of a labor of love. So we are very grateful for all the support. And this stream is now going out on our Facebook page, which, of course, if you want to see the links, you can also watch it from there. Very much thanks to our key sponsor, Edmundo. He's helping us basically pay the bill on that. So please consider subscribing and leave comments and everything else below. We always enjoy the feedback. So let's get into it, Amos. What's going on in the great US of A?
Oh, nothing's going on. I mean, it's just boring,
That fucking sucks.
I know. It's boring. Nothing's going on. I mean, who really cares? Like, it's not like there's anything major going on in the world.
There's nothing major going on in the world that we could talk about.
Yeah, the world's not really doing much of anything. Let's see here.
Did you see that below our YouTube video at this very moment, a warning label? Well, a label has come up from the World Health Organization. Have you seen that?
Has it?
It is up already. It's saying COVID-19. Get latest information here. It's actually live on our YouTube as we were talking. These algorithms are fierce, bro.
I know, right? But let's see here. All right. So I'm just making sure we're running and everything here. But the CDC agenda. Well, I don't know about that, Brian. I mean, we've talked about this in our Raw Takes video. So
yes.
we talked about like the different I'll just say we talked about different really just fleshed out all the conspiracy theories, all the discussions on everything that we pretty much get out, because I mean, we've talked it to death every episode, and that's why I'm like, we're doing 2 things in this episode. We put it in the title so we catch on to some of that, some of that traffic. But we're really going to try not to talk about it.
If you want to hear our views, you got to subscribe to Subscribe.
$5 a month, which is not
at least
that much.
Yeah. Even I'm subscribed to our channel,
Yeah.
I'm trying to support our show.
We're really just we really appreciate like people that are doing that, So I appreciate you, Brooke, and you should appreciate me because I'm subscribed.
I do. I couldn't have done it without you, Amos.
But no, we did a whole like 50-minute, almost an hour video, just like fleshing out everything because you can't get away from it. It just everyone's talking about it, and you see all this stuff. There's this new. We'll just say there's this movie out now, and it's like, oh my gosh, should we even talk about that? No, we're not. This is just. It would be nice. Maybe we'll like do another full show talking about things like in a few months after things have like pretty much returned to normal.
Right.
The only big things that are going on right now, I know we wanted to touch on like, I guess things connected to it, but not directly about the thing.
Sure.
You mentioned. I mean, while you mentioned that, we should talk about
Kaylee.
So
are we going to talk about Kaylee?
The
McKenna?
new press secretary, who is 6 years older than me.
She's 6 years older than you. Nice.
Yeah. With her not call out. She basically owned the media. They said they made this claim about some reporter just like, hey, Trump said this virus is never coming here. Do you take that back right now? And then she just like, I mean, just pulled open a binder. So are you, so before I answer that, I'm going to ask you guys this. So what about where you said this here and where you said that there and you said this here and then this said here and it was like this whole list, and she goes, and I'm going to give you guys time to think about this until next time, and just walks off, and they're like, you actually hear someone yell out, you planned for that.
I mean, I must admit, she's very easy on the eyes. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate that aspect. And she completely, what's the phrase, BTFO'd the media with that entire thing, right? Blow the fuck out. And I mean, I have not been watching the press briefings, right? It's the same stuff we have it in the UK, probably 1 hour, maybe an hour before, and possibly an hour after you guys. It's the same stuff. It's just the numbers. It's this. There's nothing new per se. But yeah, it was, somebody alerted me to this clip where she basically, body slammed the media. And I was like, this is entertaining. This is fantastic. She's hot, informed, and she's not taking shit from anybody. So I'm very pleasantly surprised. I don't know if you've seen any of her other stuff. Is anything else as good, or
I think
how do you know she's 6 years older than you? Have you been stalking the woman?
Exactly. I mean, all I did was just type in her name, and it said she's born. She's 32 years old, and I'm 27, so she's 5 years older than me. Because I was born in 92, she was born in 88. Right. She is married, so lost her chance there.
Better luck next time.
Yeah.
The red pill guys wouldn't be pleased if you date an older woman. I'm sorry, bro. I just
a secretary for the White House. So it says,
it's to your advantage.
She is the 31st White House press secretary. Oh, it's a newer position, isn't it? Let's see. Began her media career as a producer for Huckabee on Fox News, and later worked as a political analyst for CNN. Oh, so she worked for fake news. Think about that. But no, yeah, she, that's her. I think that's her first big one that she's hit. Owning the libs. As cringe as that can sound sometimes, that phrase, but it's still fun to see when she like hits that. I think I watched Joe Rogan touched on it with one of his guests, and like Jamie tried to like just ran in their parade like, oh, it had to be planned, that was like a softball, and then they're all like, yeah, you take that back. No, it's real. And
what's really funny about that Rogan clip, Jamie in Joe Rogan is on point. Like whatever you mention, like Jamie, pull that up, right? He's like within seconds, he's got the clip, he's got the video and whatever. He obviously is batting for the other team and really doesn't like this woman. So the minute Joe Rogan is like, yeah, Jamie, pull that clip up, he totally froze. He didn't want to do it. It's like, oh, I'm looking for the clip, and you can see he's really pausing.
Yeah.
Even Rogan kind of pulled him out, like, Jamie's a Biden guy. He doesn't like her, and for the first time, I've heard Jamie actually kind of interject and be like, no, seriously, guys, don't you think that whole thing was staged?
Right.
And that's basically Jamie being passive aggressive as best as you could expect on Rogan. But yeah, I thought that was that clip as well was very funny. It was very, very funny.
Yeah. So I see a couple of you guys are chatting about things about lockdown and open and all this stuff. Definitely go check out our Raw Takes series with the $5 a month thing. That explains. You'll get a good view of like. I think I showed there was this meme. It was like a Venn diagram, but it's 3 circles, and one was understanding that the disease is a real concern. Also understanding that the government is becoming tyrannical and authoritarian with some of their measures, and also understanding the devastation to the economy. You can understand all 3 and kind of be right in the middle where it's like, I get that, like, so because it's I get this, but I get that, so I'm not like you want to call it like the ultimate centrist position or whatever. It's like, it kind of is, because you can't really. The thing people don't understand is you cannot comment on a situation while it's happening so much and get a good perspective. It's usually months, if not years afterwards, that you'll read some history book that either reveals something or hides a whole bunch of things to give you a better picture of what really happened. Because you'll probably see something like with this, maybe they do reveal a lot in history books and go, yeah, maybe this was an overreaction, or it wasn't as bad as everyone said it was, or whatever. And you see what's going on right now. We're talking about it still.
I was going to interject, but you were doing such a good job. I didn't want to disturb you, but
and
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, that you're gonna like find out about things, and then we're gonna be I'm gonna be some old fart and some have a either like some kid I know or maybe even my own kids like, Daddy, tell me about or Mr. So and so, tell me about what happened during that. Well, we all got free money and for staying home all day
and washing your balls with tactical soap.
Exactly. So. Which is, I think there's a whole nother thing on that. Like, have you heard about the new measures they're considering, the new stimulus they're considering for us now?
No. I think you might have mentioned it. I haven't, again.
The $2,000 a month idea is apparently going.
It's going ahead. Okay, cool.
It's going to be proposed on Monday, so tomorrow. There's like other ideas about it. Basically, there was there was something about like, $2,000 a month for the duration of the state of emergency, which could be 3 to 6 months out till that ends, right. Or even longer. Someone was also proposing a retroactive $2,000 a month pay that starts back in March. So your first check would probably be $8,000 for everyone over 16
for the whole period total.
No, well, $8,000 is basically retroactive pay plus $2,000 a month for the continuation. So I'm like, Jesus Christ! By July, some people have $10,000. I'm like, I mean, I know what I would do with that, but Jesus, like, that is going to be really good and really bad. So it's going to be really good in the short term. People get caught up on expenses. People have money to put away. For some people, smarter people. And then you'll have some people that'll do a whole bunch of other things, go blow it on, as soon as business open, which is kind of what you kind of want money to be spent. I mean, that's the big goal. Is they're saying is it's not just the keeping people from killing each other during the lockdowns, but also keeping people afloat. That when things go back into gear, that we have some ammo to basically ramp up the economy again.
Yeah.
It's just the long-term effects of inflation, of devaluing the dollar. Like, they're going to try to delay it somehow. I don't even know.
Nobody knows. It's
is there a way? Are they going to take it all back from us? Like, come next year tax time and be like, oh, you owe us $10,000 now. It's like, what?
Yeah, I mean that's a real concern out here in the UK. We suspect, like, I'm not getting fuck all, right? Because I have more than the minimum savings, so I can't qualify for anything. My business is it doesn't meet certain requirements, so I'm not entitled to anything, which is a lot of shit. Because I know somebody he's an engineer. He's not even in like the retail sector or like the food or anything like that. He's an engineer. He rents an office, and he doesn't even do much. He stores a couple files there. I have an office. I'm not in any of those specialty sectors. He got $10,000. He got a grant, like free money for $10,000. I got fuck all, right? So, but at the end of the day, by next year, taxes are gonna start going up to pay for all of this spending.
Yeah, and then
so I might have to be out of here by next year.
Yeah, when you think about debt and stuff, it's like it's not like they're gonna actually pay enough back to actually start chipping away at the debt. Like, it's funny, of all times now, people actually bringing up like the mainstream bringing up concerns of the debt, and then the politicians have to just fully admit, we don't care about the debt because we got to save people, which is kind of true, but also like the worst time to be doing that.
Correct. I think for the first time since World War II, the U.S. GDP, debt to GDP, is over 100%, which is which is very high. Now it's manageable because, for instance, people take on more than their yearly salary all the time when they buy a house. For instance, you might be making $50,000 a year and you buy a $500,000 house, right? So you buy something that's 10 times larger than your yearly income. So it's not terrible to have a high debt to GDP ratio. The problem is you got to pay it back, right? So like during World War II, the Brits, I think they ran it up to like 200% GDP back in the 1940s. In the US, I think it's crossed 100. Japan, I don't even know where the fuck their number is. They are really screwed. But as I was explaining in one of the previous things about the Japanese debt crisis, the problem is y'all don't have a lot of extra money to pay back the interest on all of this debt. Yeah. That's the problem. And that's where things could get really dicey.
All right. I think we've talked enough about it. So, and I like it. We're just like, we're talking about it. We can't say what it is. Now, for those of you who are of course keeping up with us individually and such, we just got done with our fourth episode of Religion Zero. We basically did a part 2 of Is the Bible Red Pill, and we got into a whole bunch of stuff. I was talking about how Israel had a train run on it in the Old Testament. It's your BBD girl of the Bible is Israel. All that stuff. But it was fun. So go check that out. Of course, that's on our friend Conk's channel. If you can check out our 3rd episode that's on this channel to go check for the links to go basically follow along with where everything is. Also, if you follow us on Twitter, we as we approach the next episode, we always post about it, retweeting it and all that. But what else is going on? Oh, we haven't announced the next guests for next week on here. I mean, we'll announce it again at the very end.
Okay.
But for the longest time, so if you guys check our videos, and of course anyone who follows us on our podcasts, we appreciate you there. You can subscribe to us on a lot of podcasting platforms. Our most popular episodes are number 1, the Rational Male book review series, back when the show was the Shitlord Preachers. That one just keeps getting downloaded because why the hell would it not? It's a very popular book, very popular author. And then the second one was our episode with Beard So Strong, which is one of Robert from the Robert Frank 615 crew. He's this tall, bearded guy that hangs out with our friend Robert Frank, who Brooke got to see. Was it even last year?
It was last year in Birmingham at Body Power. 2019. That's right.
It was. Okay. I kept thinking it was like 2018. I'm like, we've been waiting that long.
No, I don't think so. It's 2019.
So back last year, we had him on like right away after they got back from Body Power, pretty much, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we were on the show, and this is, again, we're not trying to fault anyone here. This is just, I mean, we're dealing with very, very busy people here.
Yes.
So having Beard So Strong on was our second most popular podcast episode. Now, I think, which will be our number one, our next number one, it'll hopefully surpass the Rational Male episode, is next week, which will be with Robert Frank.
On the 17th.
That's next week.
Yeah, 17th of May.
Yep. So next Sunday, same time and everything, we're going to be having Robert Frank of the Robert Frank 615 crew, the head dude, host of the Glorious House of Games podcast,
star of Meathead Minutes,
star of just one of the more, I'd say it's like a, if you want to talk in terms of memes, like he was like an low A-list meme when he came out.
Yes.
And this is just understanding, when you're in the meme culture, you understand. I mean, it's an A-list meme. Like people, when you show people who are really in the memosphere, the world of memes, you kind of show them and they go, "Oh yeah, I've seen that guy. He's the guy that's in the car, especially around the election of 2016. He was the guy in the car that would yell about, make the gym great again. It wasn't, he kind of like, I don't care about politics. We should just be hitting the gym. He got popular because of all that. He's going to be on next week. I hope for the full hour and a half. You never know.
At least an hour. We know we'll get him for at least an hour. Hopefully an hour and a half.
And he, because when we had Beard So Strong on, he was doing it at Robert Frank's house. So he was in the background, and then he like popped in after we were done with the show, like, "Hey, I'll be on, certain time." Obviously, he's a very busy man, so we don't fault him at all, with scheduling and such. But we just kind of plugging away, sending him emails, talking to him. Then a lot of other things happen. He's got he's always got something going on.
Yeah, he was at Dan Bilzerian's house. He got doing
sick.
Promotions for Steel Supplements. He almost died. There was a lot of time filler, and I think at some point, like early this year, he actually said on his podcast for me, and I think he also might be on Rolo Tomasi. That's yet to be seen. But he said for me to kind of reach out. Let's make it happen. We finally arranged a time to have the big guy on next week.
We're gonna get him before Rolo gets him on.
We're gonna get him before Rolo, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, I'll just nonchalantly post that on Twitter and tag Rolo like, "Hey."
Yeah, you seem to be quite liberal with the tagging of Rolo on Twitter.
Well,
because you have a new blog now, and I think you tagged him in that as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he's another, fellow writer.
Fellow writer. Three books and counting, and you've got like, a couple articles.
hey, I'm on par with Richard Cooper, who doesn't even have a book out yet.
But it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. If you follow the last episode of Rule Zero, Aaron Clary came on, and I mean, there was a lot of shooting the shit. Like Aaron just kind of goes, Yeah, Rich. How many books you got there? And he like pulls out his whole stack of books that he's put out. When's that book coming out, Rich? And
giving him shit.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun to watch. And then Rich kind of jump back at him. Yeah, how many subscribers do you have on YouTube? how much do you charge and get paid for to do consulting?
Good on it, man. Good on it. A little competition is healthy.
Oh, it was fun to see. Like you see the different things.
But having Robert Frank on is good. I hope you brushed up on the lyrics to his song "Toxic Masculinity." So we might have to drop a beat and let him spit some lyrics.
No.
I did tell him he has to growl and do the character for like a little segment. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Oh, he's going to do a little intro for us,
Well, not an intro for us. We got to come up with an intro for him. So we better take some notes. And
anybody in the audience, intro would be like, I have to listen to it again.
He doesn't have an intro because he just starts with, I'm your host, Robert Frank. But everybody else, like, Jimmy Triceps, the most aesthetic creature in the crew.
No, I know, but I mean, he has like a routine he does, like, hey,
yes,
it's Robert Frank, and I'm joined by the round table of testosterone, which is actually a square because there is a leaf in the middle of the table.
Yes.
And I'll be like, welcome to the round table of the 10K Rum podcast, which is actually a triangle because we have a third person in the.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the show's going to be. Three
of us. Yeah. So we could have to do something like that, because he is a big guest. That's he didn't have to. We're still a pretty small broadcast, so you really got to respect people who they respect the fans that much to do that.
Just kidding.
Well, I mean, he put himself in it. He came on the stream live and said he'll do it. So I have a lot of respect.
We're gonna plug our Subscribe Star and Tactical Soap like every 5 minutes with him on.
But we gotta plug his site as well. RobertFrank615.com.
I know. Yeah. We'll put all those links below, of course. Not that I don't think
I'll have to get some sound effects.
And just a reminder in the chat, we are done talking about that. I mean, you guys keep talking about whatever you're talking about, but there's some conversations going on where it's talking about still the thing. The thing we didn't want to talk about too much. But so yeah, we're having Robert Frank on. We got Religion Zero going on. I mean, it kind of sucks that there's not too much. Like, you don't want crazy shit going on, but
unless you want something to talk about. Yeah, I don't mind crazy shit.
yeah, you get you look at some things, you go, well, it's not like you want a world war going on, but it is funny. Like, you couldn't like dismiss like the memes that were great when World War III was a thing.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
World
yeah,
War
yeah.
III memes. I mean, we could talk about murder hornets.
we've reached the 5th level of Jumanji, and they've released the murder hornets.
You heard about this, right? The murder hornets that got here.
Yeah. That came in from Asia. Yeah, I think I've seen a couple videos.
I don't think they're going to survive here so well. Even in our summers, not too much. Plus, the line of work that I no longer do, that wouldn't make me encounter hornets a lot. I'm not doing it, which is good. But yeah, I saw some video. It was obviously the murder hornets are these like big Asian hornets. Wasps, that apparently they have a stinger, but they also have like
pincers.
What are they called? Yeah, they can apparently, if they bite into your skin, it's like it's like a hot piece of iron getting stabbed into your skin.
Right.
So it's not like deadly. It's just really, really painful. So these are going around, and people are freaking out, like, oh, of course, like, April was all this other thing, March was this other thing, and here we are in May, and it's another it's murder hornets. It's funny, like, who freaking named them that too? That's the problem.
Murder hornets. I'm sure it came from Japan. That has to come from Japan.
Some people maybe saw me. I posted the Babylon Bee article. America responds to murder hornets with kamikaze rocket bears.
Rocket bears. I saw that.
It's just grizzly bears on rockets being, kamikazing the murder hornets.
It's like Sharknadoes, just like
insane. That's what murder hornet. It's like it's the closest thing to a real life Sharknado type of just ridiculous. So these things are going around, and I saw someone post a video, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." So honeybees can kill these things. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I think I've seen. So, I know praying mantis can kill them. I didn't know about honeybees.
I saw the video of the praying mantis eating its head.
It. Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
No,
yeah.
You don't fuck with mantis, man. Praying mantis are.
Oh yeah, it went in and it held it down, and then it just went in with its mouth and just nibbled away at its head. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Praying mantis are fucking alpha of the bug world. They don't give a shit.
Nature is metal as fuck.
Yeah, nature is pretty fucking metal. That's for sure.
So there's the murder hornets. The way the honeybees can kill them, which is interesting. So someone found because murder hornets have been around for a while, actually. They're not just some like random, like, they didn't come out of a lab in Japan.
I was about to say that. I was about to say they didn't escape from a lab.
They that'd be really bad. First we fucked around with a disease, now we fucked around with hornets, and
yeah, they're naturally occurring.
Someone said something funny. They said, when I said I wanted to live in the world of Pokemon, I was thinking of like Charmanders and Bulbasaurs, not freaking Beedrills, which is the same Pokemon that attack people. They're like, it's like the Pokemon World's version of murder hornets, but not as anti-family friendly. More family friendly. So basically, honeybees. There was an old video, it was like from the 90s. It was a video of like within a beehive, and this murder hornet comes in, and the bees see it. And he's, obviously the murder hornet wants to like start eating the bees and stuff. But so the bees basically, as a tactic, what they'll do is they'll swarm the hornet. And because of the vibrations that they're doing in concert, so to speak, they're basically, they overheat it. They overheat it.
They cook it.
They cook it. I mean, obviously there's no smoke, but they cook it enough that it dies of overheating.
Wow, and then that's interesting.
So the swarm of bees hits it, and they're just, honeybees are vibrating so much, there's all this friction that they basically cook it. And then they leave it, and it's just this like it's completely like unscathed physically, but it's like cooked. So it's just this carcass of a hornet just sitting there dead.
Wow.
And that's how they take them out. I don't know if they necessarily start like eating it. I don't know if honeybees eat like meat.
Other insects,
probably not.
That's a good question. I don't think they do, because they only have one orifice, right? It's their mouth. So honey is like throw up, like throw up, and that's their shit.
Yeah,
they don't like leave other stuff. So I don't know. That's a pretty good question. I wonder if you could get like hornet honey, from bees. That would be pretty messed up.
You could market it as some sort of aphrodisiac, murder hornet honey. Ooh.
I think there is ganja honey.
What?
There is honey that I think that comes.
Well, I mean, if there's a food and there's weed, there is a food with weed in it. Like,
there's a food with weed.
it's kind of like a Rule 34 of weed. Like if it exists and you can eat it, someone put weed in it.
Yeah, it could be made better with weed.
Exactly. It's just I mean, you got freaking like probably CBD water.
Yeah. My uncle, I mean, he was a big hippie back in the 60s and the 70s in London, so he was really living his best life. He would make tea with ganja leaves. Oh my god. Yeah, he would actually like take the leaves and dip it in his tea, and just to get a little bit of that zing going. Right, so you're absolutely right on that. I mean, I think the next big thing, of course, is the psychedelics. So mushroom bear is probably going to be the next big thing, right? So if you want to get in early, that's where you got to start looking.
Start investing in those companies.
Mushroom bear.
Yeah. I mean, I know I told you this, but I figured we could briefly touch on this. Like with all this money that the government wants to give us, I know I kind of told you what I was going to do. Now, I guess we could share a little bit about just our conversations around that.
Sure.
Money and stuff. So again, neither of us are financial experts. We're not financial planners. So this is just, what is it?
Our opinion for
educational entertainment purposes. So don't take, but I've been looking into different things. Like, people are talking about like the halving or the halvening of Bitcoin, and how there's certain trends that basically show Bitcoin is on a trajectory to see another spike in price. It's been rising in price in the past couple weeks, kind of here and there. Mm-hmm. And I basically kind of decided on my own, not giving this advice to anyone else per se. If you want to do it, you do it, but not because of me, because you. You make your own mistake. But I figured if the government's going to print a whole shit ton of money and there's going to be real problems with inflation down the road, I might as well put it in something that could inflate with that. Because if they give out that much money, I think it's only safe to say, like, immediately following those payments going out to people, some people are going to buy it.
Sure.
Especially, they're like, oh, this is, emergency money, so I'm going to buy Bitcoin. And that's going to lead to a rise in price. And then, of course, because of the halving, the supply of it is going to it's not
not the supply.
The generating,
the mining, the mining of it is going to
operations are literally it's cut in half. It's it's the program, it's the line of code that does that, and it basically halves on and on and on until 2140 something when when all of it's been mined, and then at that time it will be following a more easier curve, but we're still along the curve where it's like there's still a lot of Bitcoin out there we haven't gotten. So it's like
sure.
Anytime there's a halving, it's going to affect the price. Some people are predicting. So what is it right now? Bitcoin's at like 9,000 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian in the chat here brings up gold and silver. That's definitely a good thing because, of course, you always diversify. Like people will say, like 10-15% of your portfolio should be precious metals. But yeah, in order to hedge against inflation problems, Bitcoin has that ability to hedge against that, depending upon how the market is. I mean, it's not 100%. There's always a risk. It's very volatile at times. So again, that's why it's like you can't, you hear a lot of people like, oh, just buy it all up with the halving. And it's like, I'll buy it. I mean, if the government wants to give me freaking, at the end of the day, total of like anywhere between 6 to 10 grand of just freshly printed money, I think I'm going to put it in something that's just not going to be affected by that much, or something that's going to try to stay ahead of it. Because if I decide to go buy up really anything else that's affected by those markets connected to the dollar, it might not work so well.
Well, I mean, yeah, you want to find some kind of commodity that you can put the money into. So our friend Brian in the chat is talking about gold and silver. Yeah, I would say that's probably still a good bet. I have physical gold and physical silver. I have nothing wrong with this. I think it's a pretty smart play. I don't personally, you and I were having the discussion, and in fact, I was having a conversation with another friend of mine on Facebook about cryptocurrencies, and I said, yeah, it's still a fiat currency because it's not based on anything, right? It's complete speculation. It's completely subjective. Yes, it's very cool technology, and yes, you can transfer it around the world in an instant and stuff like that, but there's nothing backing it. It's just people agreeing for it as the medium of exchange. And you're doing the right thing. You're getting basically free money from the government, money you could afford to lose because you're still working, you're caught up on your bills, your taxes, everything. So this is like money you don't really need. That's how you would invest. You have a conviction, you have an idea about it, you got a plan, and you're using money you could afford to lose. Spot on. I'd say, yeah, absolutely go for it. I think that's a safe play.
A lot of the people are predicting, because of the halving, that usually there's a trajectory that takes place that with the price of the Bitcoin usually inflates anywhere between minimum 10 times its value during that period. In theory, yeah. The other halvings have shown this to be true, but then you look at the all-time graph, and you really just see the $20,000 Bitcoin that happened a while ago. So it's like people start to wonder, like, is there a point? I mean, then again, I remember when you and I talked about it way back when it first started, when it really when it was just coming into the fringes, you were like, well, yeah, gold hit $1,000. Now it's got to hit its first real limit, which was the price of gold.
Yes.
And it shattered that. It just
not at first. I mean, it hit the price of gold and then it collapsed. And I think that was around the time. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's expected. But then what happened? It got into the mainstream media. It got into Bloomberg and CNBC and Fox Business, and they started talking about it. And a rule in trading: if the news reaches the mainstream, the trend is over, because you want to be the smart money in it before everybody else. But the minute I jump in on Uber and the Uber driver is talking to me about Bitcoin, I know the trend is done. It's too late.
It's like, what was it? Wolf of Wall Street. And he goes, by the time you see it in the Wall Street Journal, it's already too late.
It's already too late. The smart money was predicting that 3 months to 6 months before. So this is my concern with the Bitcoin. I don't think it will probably go up. And I've been wrong about Bitcoin in the past. So don't listen to me but if I'm trying to, if I have to be true to the system of trading that I'm familiar with, I do not see the media being able to push it, or enough buyers to come in and push it above the 20,000, because not a lot of people have that kind of money just laying around. And I don't know how much further it could break up into like the hundredths and stuff like that. It makes it more and more unlikely to be used as an actual currency the more expensive it gets. So,
like the smallest increment of Bitcoin is a Satoshi, which is
like the 1,000th or something.
No, it's smaller than that.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to start getting astronomically small, especially the higher and higher it goes. It's going to run into computational problems. So it might retest 20,000. I have my doubts, but we'll see. What's the smallest increment?
So 1 Satoshi is a 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin.
That's really small.
So 100 million Satoshis is a Bitcoin. Now we are 45 minutes into the show. We're halfway through the show. I just want to, of course, remind everyone about our sponsors. First off, the Tactical Soap Company. I know we mentioned before, but we're doing this. So
we're doing it again, just because.
Well, yeah. Tactical Soap, of course, sponsor the show. Grundig Soap Company. They produce this really awesome soap. Do check them out. I have the second edition of the 3-pack. So there's Bond, Jordan, and Maverick. Those are the 3 kinds. Smell good, cleans you real good, and it's almost an alternative to cologne because I'm not too sold on the thing of cologne unless you're going to like a really high fancy thing. But when I put this stuff on, I tend to smell a lot better. Just anyways, it's like becomes a more natural scent rather than like an applied scent of like just stuff that knocks out a chick because she's like, ugh, too strong. 10K Rum, 10K Rum is the coupon code to give you 10% off. Apply that, and then of course there's a little bit that goes to us to help support the show. And of course there is Subscribe Star, which is where we are. You can pledge a monthly amount to the show. $1 gets you in the door to get you in contact with us in a more one-on-one way, or just talking to us more so. Obviously, we're at a point right now where most people can reach us anyways. But this is like down the line. I know there will be a point where it's like, people want maybe more FaceTime with us. So the $1 gets you in the door. The $5 gets you access to our raw takes. And then of course there's the other tiers above that. Check out the link where you can see those to see if you want to support us. Anything from $1 to $25, we appreciate, but obviously 25 is the best. So thank you, of course, to our sponsors. And I think that's that. All right. So
back to the show. I mean, if somebody's not like, a lot of people are not going to be technically inclined. So maybe Bitcoin is not for them. There's always gold, any kind of precious metals. An ironic thing that's actually used, and it's been used in other countries that have had hyperinflation, is you just buy anything. You could buy a car, right? Anything that is of tangible physical existence, you're pretty safe. Mm-hmm. If the inflation goes up and stuff like that, even though the car will depreciate, it will still rise in price, not necessarily value, just because of the acts of inflation. So I suggest everybody have some kind of, it's good to have a plan, if anything.
So speaking of just different things to plan, this is the biggest. What's the word? What's that word you say when you're trying to change the subject?
A detour?
No, not a detour.
Strategic change of topic.
Here's the segue. Here's the funniest little segue. So did you know that apparently sunlight raises your testosterone if you suntan your balls?
Yes. Yes, actually I did know that, because
there was an article that was posted, I saw, and I was like, this is some like suntanning asshole shit going on right now. But
no, we do it in the gym. The gym, that is like one of those urban legends you would hear in the gym, and that's why they tan. Well, it's not the only reason, but it helps.
I've seen in a lot of cases where like guys try to get the full body tan, they put a sock over their dick.
Yeah. You could put that over your dick, but you're not necessarily over your balls. But
so the UV rays stimulate more testosterone production.
Well, it's a combination of things, including the vitamin D that your body produces. Your body can use that to convert it to testosterone derivative.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D, yeah. And I don't mean dick. I mean vitamin D. Just in case you sickos out there. But yeah, no, that's the real thing. Like, they've done tests, people going into tanning beds and stuff like that. They measure the testosterone. But to be fair, you deadlift heavy enough, you're probably going to produce some pretty good testosterone as well. Whether you maintain it, of course, is another story. But yeah.
I've heard like, there's been so many studies on like increasing testosterone at the gym and stuff. Like there was one where like, they did a study where they had women sit on men's laps when they're doing like bench presses and all this stuff, like just being near them or some sort of physical contact, obviously with clothes on. And it has increased men's performance by like 30%. So like there's these pictures you'll see of a guy that's doing like his bench set, and he's got his chick like just sitting like right on his thigh.
Junk.
Well, it depending. I mean, obviously, so he's comfortable enough to still do his set. But like, she sits on him and she's looking at him, and he'll just like do better.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've experienced that, but I certainly have been in the gym when, you know, some hot yoga pants have walked in, and you know, there's a whole bunch of junk.
Why else is there a reason to go to the gym?
Well, I mean, to get a sick fucking pump, but you know, I mean, secondary to that is, you know, when the hot yoga pants come in, yeah, you could be pretty sure that I've just added like a 10 more kilograms to whatever the fuck I'm doing, you know, just to look fucking impressive.
Yeah, you see so many times in these movies and TV shows where they try to like make a comedic thing where like there's the guy that's trying to impress and he hurts himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really like add in the fact that like, you know, the scientific information now where it's like, oh, it can actually do, you know, you can actually do better. Yeah, do you some good. It gets the testosterone flowing and you definitely start feeling better. Yeah, no, I saw that and I was just like, God damn it, this is some like asshole tanning shit. And then I looked in and I was like, okay, this might be real.
I mean, there are easier ways to raise your testosterone, probably cheaper too. Just use Clomid. Clomid is pretty. I don't know if that's like over the counter in the US.
Tren.
But yeah. Well, there's always Tren. I know a guy who knows a guy. You know, you can get some D-ball.
I heard about guys
testosterone propionate.
Like guys, even like, you know, really built, more bodybuilding type guys that have tried Tren, and they're just like, it is just too much.
Yeah. I mean, I have a friend who follows me on Instagram, and he and I were actually having a conversation because I told him, look, I want to be pretty fit for my 40th, and he's like, here, and this is what you got to do, and he listed out a couple of the steroids and stuff.
Tren.
Then I asked him. I said, look, I'm not particularly keen on injecting myself. It requires the needle exchange program out here. It is illegal, but there's a lot more to it. And I asked him about his experience on Tren. He says he's done everything. He's done it all. And he said, yeah, that was the most insane experience he's ever had was on Tren. Not physically as well. I mean, he put on the most mass. He was vascular. I think he said like 10, 15 pounds of muscles in like 3 months, 4 months, whatever it was. He said mentally, he was fucking Superman. He thought he can do anything. And he just unstoppable.
I mean, what does that do? What are the side effects to that?
It fucks up your dopamine receptors as well as your androgen receptors because there's so much testosterone. There's a risk of gyno, which is, you get man boobs. There's a little bit of fat that's by the nipple and stuff like that. And it really fucks with your hormones where you can have some people have snapped, like mentally they've had a breakdown. Thing. Yeah, the roids rage is a real thing. I mean, even on testosterone is probably the quote unquote safest steroid you could use because your body knows what to do with testosterone. It's a naturally occurring byproduct. Flatmate got an injection of testosterone when he was in Thailand because apparently you can get that shit out there. And they gave him a shot, and he said the rage that he was feeling when he felt incredible, right? So he's in his 40s and stuff like that, and he doesn't have low testosterone, so this was definitely on top of everything else.
But his fuse just
it disappeared. He said some guy just looked at him wrong, and he was like ready to pelt him through the wall. So yeah, there's some real side effects. These are very powerful drugs. So I was talking. My friend, he told me, look, I told him, look, I've got some weight to lose. But he said the best like stack to lose weight, and the only steroid I've taken is Proviron, which is oral testosterone. Not a lot even with that. So he said testosterone and Masteron, I think, which are both injectable. Masteron, which are both injectables. And he said you'll shred, you'll cut the weight, all this different kind of thing. And I started looking into the effects and like watching videos of people who've done this stack, and it mentally you can be fucked up. So I'm actually now talking with my doctor, and he might put me on HGH, which is human growth hormone, and that might have more of a cutting effect without all the rage aspect to it. So
let's say HGH. Just for some reason, it reminds me of GHB.
What's GHB?
Date rape drug.
Oh, because these things have different names across in the pond. I don't
Yeah,
think
he's like HGH, and it's like it's so close. I'm like GHB.
Yeah. I mean, see, as you get older, you lose human growth hormone. So I think Dan Bilzerian, he's on 100 milligrams of test a week, and he does 1 IU of HGH every day. So you lose about that much. So it's anti-aging kind of thing. So he looks pretty good. I say, yeah, why not? I could try that.
One thing that I think is interesting about people that are on certain supplements and such, like testosterone and all this stuff, is people tend to think like, oh, because it's steroids or it's this or it's that. It's like, oh, it's not real, or you're kind of, you're cheating and whatever. But when you really think about it, it's mainly just hormones, isn't it? It's certain types of hormones, mixtures that are basically supplementing what you're lacking in, or also complementing what you already have to make it even better. Like trying to boost. It's a boost.
There are 3 branches of steroids. I don't know all of this. Anybody wants to know this, go and look up I think Nick Strength and Power or More Plates. Those are 2 YouTube channels that really get into. I think the More Plates is the guy who really gets into it, and he breaks it down. And you're right, they're all a derivative of testosterone. That's basically what it comes down to. So D-ball, they're orals, and then they're injectables, and they're all just tweaks on the steroid molecule that attach to your androgen receptors on your back or whatever, and send signals to your brain like grow the muscle. But yeah, it does take you beyond your genetic limit. Like a lot of people say, do not start taking anything until you've maxed out what you have. But then I don't know if you saw this granny who's on Instagram right now. She's like 72, 73, pretty jacked. I mean, she's lost over 100 pounds, and, she's got the yoga pants, and, she looks good for her age at 72 or whatever. And all the ladies and all the women are out there like, oh yeah, you go girl, oh yeah, show them and whatever, right? There's this guy on the YouTube called Greg Doucette, and he does like natural or not natural. So he will look at a body and tell you whether he thinks they did it naturally with chicken and lifting, or if they're enhanced. And in the words of Greg Doucette, who looked at the granny, and he says, what chance do I think that she's natural? 0% chance that she's natural. At 72, why not? Like, there's, to have a good physique, have strength, live a better quality of life. Why the fuck not?
I think,
and that's kind of his. That's
I
the
think
attitude.
this is just a flawed understanding of like what the body does and what these drugs do, which is, you're giving your body a supplement of certain hormones and chemicals or drugs that are basically helping your body be able to either maintain or grow things that are technically there already.
Yes.
So the whole thing is like the body is, some people like to talk about the body like as some sort of like, like whether it's a car or some sort of engine, they try to talk about it in those terms. And it's like, well, yeah, you can modify an engine, you can add parts, you can take parts away, you can do all this stuff. You throw a turbo on there, you redo this, you redo that, you make the fuel injectors more efficient, whatever you're fucking doing. I'm not the most car aficionado type of guy, but you get all these things. Engines do that, but with humans, we don't grow what's already in our we grow because of like food, calories, nutrients, and such, but we're not adding anything our body doesn't have access to begin with. So correct. We're not, when a muscle grows bigger than we've ever made it grow, it's not like muscle fibers grew out of our arm to make more muscle.
Right.
It's those drugs that help with, blood flow, with building, with protein, with, strengthening and tightening those muscle fibers to make them look more toned, more shredded, more strength, stuff like that.
Correct.
That's the thing. So you're basically improving upon, because you're saying the genetic limit, I think, and it's like, well, it's not so much, because genetic limit is like, there is a genetic limit. Like, you're not going to have a human outrun a car.
Correct.
Now people go, oh, Usain Bolt runs as fast as a car. Yeah, but if that car speeds up at any length, like it's beating Usain Bolt. I'm saying just there are actual limiters to the human strength. Like, what there's like basically as your strength, I know you had on your channel, Brooke, you talked about the deadlift record.
Yes.
From, was it the mountain? Yeah.
Yeah, 501 kilograms.
Yep. So he's doing that, but when you've seen these like strength athletes, these lifting records, they're not linear. They're not going in any linear way as the years go on. It kind of plateaus, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the strength thing is very strange because they keep getting heavier and heavier. So those records seem to be being broken all the time. But yes, there is a limit. Like, there was a time when you couldn't lift over 1,000 pounds, right? I can't remember the name of the guy that first did it. There was a time when they thought it was impossible to run a mile in like 4 minutes until somebody actually did that, and then suddenly, the records. But we do have limits.
Yeah,
it's great to see. Yeah, it's great to see people challenge those limits to see, what's possible.
So it's like, I mean, there's going to come a point, so, 501 kilograms. So that one extra or that 2 extra kilograms he's going to throw in there is going to be a larger challenge than it is the difference between literally 1 kilogram and 3 kilograms.
Yes.
Because you're approaching that higher and higher limit, I'm just looking just mathematically, like people tend to think, oh, it's a linear thing. It's like, no, it's kind of like an asymptote. There is going to be an asymptote somewhere. Correct. Where the human body just cannot get past that without some sort of bioengineering or like, biomechanical, some sort of enhancement that is extra biological, like outside of the body.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is what people need to understand, right? At a certain point in all of us, men, women, we are all going to reach a point where our body is not going to function as efficiently as when we were younger.
What? No.
I know. I know. Exactly. We get old, right? And for men,
you get old.
Well, yeah, you're gonna stay young forever, right?
Exactly.
For men, testosterone replacement is a real thing. Like, we around our 40s, mid 40s, and stuff like that. The old nut sack starts to shrivel up a little bit, and you might need a little help in that department. Women are the same thing. Some women need testosterone replacement as well because just cares of life and these other things, their body's just not producing as much. So I am not opposed to people wanting to live a longer, healthier life, supplementing with these additives. And with testosterone specifically, I don't mind in a sense because that's something your body naturally uses. Where I do have an issue is some of these drugs will transform women from women into men, right? They will actually start making the transition almost.
You, man,
yeah.
Gender is just a social construct.
Real trans people are put on a lot of these drugs to help in their transition. And some of them really look like men. This is the risk. Tren is like that.
I was explaining to someone yesterday. I was explaining we were talking about just different people who like there's people who are intelligent because of what they know, but then the next level of intelligence is not what you know but how you think.
Sure, you may not know but you can figure out, kind of thing.
Right. So it's like, like I could, and this ties into other things. Like I was listening to I was watching this YouTube channel Wisecrack, where they kind of do like kind of your like kind of bite-sized philosophy takes on things. Mostly good. Couple times they've got into like some things that they obviously there's bias in it. But anyways, so they did this one on flat Earth. Like, why do flat earthers believe what they do? So they actually went into like deep into like the different different schools of thought within like the thought process of the scientific method, and like, okay, about disproving things, proving something is this, therefore this, and how like initial premises are what make flat earthers believe what they believe. They're not like a truly like sound idea or belief needs to be tested against it.
Yes.
So, okay, so 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, I know that to be true, but could someone like me work out a way to prove against it?
Right.
Well, obviously, so then you have people. You do have mathematicians that are going. Maybe not nowadays, but there are people probably who have tried to like write whole proofs to say this is why 1 + 1 can't be anything else because of these set rules. I know there's people who fuck around with math and do some like magician type shit with it. I've seen it. I don't know that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like to say within certain models that math has to operate within, this cannot happen. These rules cannot be like broken. So in the same way, it's like they operate on the premise that, well, the earth is flat, going into the experiment of proving it is, rather than saying, I want to figure out what the earth is.
Yes.
And then it kind of because they're doing all these things. And then I think there was like, they talked about, there was a flat earth documentary where they did this, the gyroscope experiment. So the earth rotates at 15 degrees per hour. So they had this gyroscope that could measure that. And so these flat earthers were like, we're going to measure this. 15 degrees per hour.
That's what it did.
It
measured
did that.
it out.
And then they said, oh, heavenly energies, they called it. Which then creates a whole nother thing that they kind of conveniently throw out to say, oh, we don't have to prove against that.
Right.
Like this told us we're wrong, but we're going to come up with another thing to say why that is wrong, and actually indicates something else. And it's like, no, that's not how you go about thinking. So I was talking to people about this, which then led into talking about a certain person we know, and this couple of the guys in the group were like, oh, I mean, I guess I don't want to sound like sexist, but that seems to be like a very woman thing to do. And then that led me to go, oh, do you know about the extreme male brain theory of autism? We talked about that a while ago.
And we have Conk in the chat, so he's also an expert on this.
Yeah, Conk actually brought that up to us to say, hey, you should talk about this. Funny thing is, because it's Sacha Baron Cohen's cousin, who was a psychologist who studied this. Basically, he was looking at like, okay, some of the typical the typical definitions of like differences that are used to identify the difference between men and women are usually verbal and spatial abilities. So the ability to communicate verbally and the ability to talk about like basic spatial awareness, kind of your mechanical mindset, stuff like that. And what is this? So you're going through all that. And he said he's actually found there's actually two other qualities we can use to identify the difference between men and women. And he says, what is it? System, sort of what he calls like systemism. The basically being systemic with your thought process, and versus empathy.
Right. Which
basically is just the logical and the empathetic, more
sure, the two halves of the brain.
And then that's where he went into, okay, so then by this case, by this model, the extreme, sort of the most extreme male model would be the most systematically driven, like systems, rational, stuff like that. Right. And of course, women would be the opposite. So then I brought that up to them, and then at first they were like, well, how do you like, I said, well, there's correlations. Well, correlation obviously is not causation, but I said, but there's a lot like really strong correlating. And then there's a woman in this conversation too. So this is on Discord that I want to talk to people. And she was like, well, it's funny. When you look at like girls who are diagnosed with autism, they have an unusually high amount of testosterone.
Interesting.
Not like so high that they start manifesting male characteristics, but
sure,
high enough that
to affect the brain.
Exactly. So it's not to go say, it's not to go and say, oh, all the autists are super masculine alpha chads. I mean, what do you the Chad autists versus the the virgin, neurotic.
Well, I don't know what I don't know what the other side of that would be, but yeah.
So, but it was just funny. It's like, so like the autist is the peak autism, or more just rational sort of lack of social awareness even can be into that too. Really just the internet version of autism kind of thing is like this masculine characteristic. Well, then
yeah, I'd agree with that.
which then leads right back to, what about on the women's side? Oh, neuroticism. You're like, oh, the BPD girl.
Yeah, quite possibly.
And
yeah.
And then they start. I mean, there were questions that were brought up that were really interesting. Like, why did we evolve this way? I'm like, well, like, how did we function for men and women operating this way? And I said, well, that's simple enough. Like, we didn't care about this stuff till very recently. Psychology is a field of just understanding men and women. We haven't delved into that as much as we have in the last few hundred years at most.
Sure.
For the longest time, that's just how nature was. Oh, she stays home, does this. I go out and hunt and whatever.
Yeah.
Why are women so, emotionally driven and neurotic? Well, because they have to be that way to be a better mother to nurture.
Sure.
That's the thing, is like, when you bring these things up, people are thinking, oh, you're criticizing like women are crazy and emotional. It's like, no. They have to have a sensitivity emotionally for raising children, to be more nurturing and gentle. Men have that capacity, but our primary function is not necessarily that.
Correct. Yeah, I think we've discussed at length, the evolutionary purposes for, why we have some of the behavior, especially because babies are born incapable, right? They're completely dependent upon their mother, even more than the father. They're completely dependent on the mother. So the mother's empathy forth is a survival mechanism for the early infant years of the child, right? Until the child gets older and is able, the father can then teach him skills or her skills, and the child can learn some of its own survival. A lot of that protective nature has to come from the mother, which is why the mother would select for a protector, like a strong male figure, to protect the two of them, right? So there are good evolutionary reasons for all of that, and we see it in the dating world today. So
that's the thing that is difficult, because this is something I've had to, like, when I'm approaching this conversation and people start to kind of like, you can just sense the conversation is going in a direction where they're like thinking, they presume like, oh, if I say women are emotional, and they'll be like, well, what do you mean? Like, they identify because they're thinking that's a bad thing. It's like, no. There's a reason for that. And there's a good reason for that. It's not a bad reason. And it's not even it's good or bad. It just is. So when you're talking about these things, one thing I realize is, and people have tried to say, oh, you believe this, but then you do this, you're a hypocrite. It's like, well, no, when I look at like the dynamics, it just is. It's reality. I don't make a moral judgment. Now, I can sit here and tell you whether I think certain things are fair or not. Like, in a society that believes itself to promote egalitarianism and equality and all this, you kind of you say it all day, but is it really? No. Now, I can say that's not fair. Now, do I think that's necessarily right or wrong? Well, within the framework of people believing in equality, I would say yes. By your definition, you're wrong. I'm still going to operate within the reality of things, but I'm not going to try to make any moral judgment. If a woman wants to take advantage of, of a man, and so let's say family court, I'll be like, okay, look at the different factors. Okay, did he do his best to protect himself? Did she, did all these things? Yeah, and Heather in the chat here is talking about when she got mama bear with her stepkids. Yes, it's an evolutionary need to do that.
But it's not a need per se, but it's built into them innately to have that capacity. Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll even like touch on like like I'll look on the internet and I'll see this gets this built-in software, I guess, this behavior will manifest in different ways. Like, and this is, I mean, it's sad in a way, but you can understand why it's happening. Is when you see these like single women that will start to mother other women or other girls or other boys that they know on the internet. Not in any weird way. Like, so like, some like teenage kid who's just adult person, 18-year-old, person making friends.
Where are we going with this, Amos?
No. So, okay. In circles that I've been in on, like, whether it's Twitter or whether it's on Facebook, some people will grow like very close relationships where they kind of feel almost like family. Like they feel closer to these people on the internet than they do with their own family.
Okay.
So then there's in cases where some people like girls will do this a lot, where they're kind of like, like a mom or like an aunt thing. They'll have this, not like literally, but they'll just kind of like, oh, she's like my Facebook mom, or she's like my Facebook aunt.
Yeah.
Like they'll say this.
I get that.
And then these women, the women who are usually the Facebook mom are like these like older women who are either have no kids or not married or not anything.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like wondering if that's an extension of that drive or need. Like they're trying to fill that, like, oh, I didn't have kids, so I'm gonna like have a kid on the internet, like. And they'll even get a little protective of these people who they've never met in person, and it's like almost like that need to be a mother is so barren of their life that they like try to find it anywhere they can.
I think it might be a little unfair to categorize all of that behavior as necessarily being unhealthy, but it's completely understandable because at the end of the day, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not.
The whole thing with the cat lady thing.
The cat lady thing.
They have so many cats to fill that void of not having children.
Right. Okay. But the point I wanted to make was all interaction that we're dealing with is basically electrical signals in the brain. Right. Your brain right now is in complete darkness. Your brain actually can't see anything. It's interpreting the signals from the eyes, the ears, and other places. So your brain doesn't know that the interaction with this other person is not physically there. The brain doesn't have a concept that these signals are virtual and not. It's no wonder it would trigger those areas of the brain that would, as Heather was saying, like the mama bear. So yeah, I completely get what you're saying, but it's also without the overriding consciousness, this is not real. It can get people into a lot of trouble. And like you and I have discussed the issue of like long distance relationships where people have literally thrown away marriages over some person that's online, and they fall in love with this person online, and leave their kids, leave their husband or their wife, as the case might be, go out to this complete stranger to find out none of this is real. Like they're not a real person. So yeah, they're complimenting you and they're like, you were in the dark there, bro. I don't know what was going on there just now.
Yeah, no, I was telling you earlier how like just Minnesota's weather and just sunlight is such a weird thing. Like one month, like, so I have the blinds completely open right now. Kind of just, twist the thing and it opens right up. I bet you in like maybe an hour, it's just going to shine through and my face is going to like, and I got to go close it again. It's just, I got to like find proper lighting or something. Maybe I got to get one of those ring lights.
That's not a bad idea. I mean,
you're in an office, so it kind of like balances out. But yeah, no, I've seen a lot of these like just relationships over the internet start to behave in line with a lot of these imperatives. And it's funny. And then they'll turn into like these weird things where I know you're saying I'm looking too much into probably thinking with the unhealthy side of it, but I've seen this where it's like but you don't see this with guys. Like I'm not sitting here like I mean you see it in
yes you do.
It's not as prevalent, I think, or as accepted.
Oh no, it's worse. It's
what do you mean?
Simps, bro. I mean, like I've seen
men. No. I'm saying with like men calling other men dads.
No, they wouldn't do that, but the same protective mate guarding, like
Oh
in
no, no,
real
no,
life, we
no.
would call it mate guarding.
Oh no, that's totally there. Like Simps, OnlyFans, White Knighting, that's all there.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that. Of course,
Sure.
I'm saying stuff like you don't have like bros just like I'm saying hooking up, but hooking up on the internet to be like, oh, he's like my Facebook dad. It's like, no. Like even like
Right. They wouldn't use that terminology, but
I mean,
they
there's
do it.
plenty of people that will say like Richard Cooper is like the father they didn't have.
Yeah.
But they say it in a way that it's like it's more of a figure, more of a symbol. It's not like literally. Like I'm not gonna like
Right. Sure.
I'm
I get
not
that.
FaceTiming and calling up Rich every day, like, hey dad, like
Right.
chicks
I get
will
what
do
you're
that.
saying. But even with that said, that's not outside the paradigm of a male son relationship. Like a son is probably not going to call his dad and be like, "Hey, dad, what's everyday kind of thing." So it would be.
Right.
I think that's kind of in line. So I get what you're saying. But yeah, men being tripped up by internet relationships and stuff like that, very, very common, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, for sure. I get that's totally true.
It's an actual thing. I think at some point in school, because the technology is so prevalent, they're going to have to teach children to not consider online a reality. Like they have to teach that to the kids.
Yeah, I think was it Rolo was talking about like the different types of consciousness.
Yeah.
Like we have like there's the public us, there's the private us, and he goes the internet us. The digital consciousness is becoming like the third type of us that's going to be out there. Because you have you who are you. I mean, just as an example, you have people that are in public. So people that will work a job. Actually, you can go even higher than that. So you have a guy that's working $100,000 a year job. Wears a suit, goes to work, makes good money. So that's the public him. He's professional and he interacts with clients, coworkers, whatever. Then you have the public him, maybe drinking problem, drug problem, certain addiction problems, whatever.
The private him. Yeah.
That's the private him. And then there's the internet him of partying, making all the money in the world and all this and that, and probably can actually play up his life to be more than what he tries to take the best of the two. So the guy he has an addiction, but then he'll like kind of play it into, oh, I'm a party guy. So he'll like take pictures of himself at parties, and then he has decent money. He doesn't have all the money in the world, but he's got decent money.
Yeah.
And then he'll play that into, I'm like this rich playboy, because he'll like. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like takes the best of those two. Now it's not always that way. Like some people will take the worst of the two and try to sort of try to get pity from people.
Sure.
Their life could be actually okay, but they're actually, okay, or even just, pretty darn good. And they're just making it into a pity party. The digital consciousness is sort of like takes from the two and does all sorts of things, whether it's, maybe they take the worst of the public, but the best of the private.
Right. What was the character on that TV show, Tiger King, that basically stole the zoo? No, the one who stole the zoo from Joe Exotic.
The other weirdly dressed individual.
The other weirdly. So what I was saying in that respect is, that's a very good example of that. And with the internet, it's so easy to fake. You can rent, like I see this in the finance world all the time. You get these young kids, they rent a Lamborghini for the day, or you look it up in the meantime.
Jeff Lowe.
What is it?
Jeff Lowe is his name?
Jeff Lowe. I think, yeah. If his Instagram is all these hot chicks. He's living in Vegas. He drives a Ferrari. He's got this big house. What they don't tell you is he's renting the house. He's behind on the car payments. All the girls are hookers. He's got to pay for all of their all of these pictures. You wouldn't know that, right? That's the private side of him, which he's also trying to hide. So I was getting into that. Yeah, in the finance world, everybody's trying to sell their trading and their portfolio management and stuff like that. And how do you do it? Is you got to look like you're the part. Even if you're not, you got to look the part. So you rent your Ferrari.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, you rent your Ferrari. You stand in front of some rich guy's house and, you might be the pool boy, but you take a selfie and, you push this bullshit. But the fact is, all of social media, you don't even have to be rich. Like all of these Instagram models, none of it's real. All of it's photoshopped, and it's this, that, and the other. It's the best pictures of them. I mean, I don't give a shit. I take shitty pictures of myself and put it on my Instagram all the time, and people are fine. But for the most part, it's all bullshit. But kids today, they can't tell the difference. And I think at some point they're going to have to introduce that as like a teaching.
Right. There was the Rich Cooper was bringing up a lot of the these like early 20s, turn $100 into $100,000 in a month or something. Just these guys that will do YouTube ads or Google ads of them like standing in front of a Ferrari. I'm 21 years old and I bought my first Ferrari last year because I did these simple things. And then you even had like some of these like internet memes of people that took off into that world too. Just there was this girl, Lil Tay or something like that. She was this like 10-year-old girl that was like coached to basically, she would like hold a bunch of bills and she would go throughout her house. She was like, I'm a little Tay, my bed costs more than your paycheck. My this, and then she was like flashing money, and then she's like, I'm gonna teach you how to do all this, and then like nothing was shown, and then someone caught a video of her being coached, and then someone found out that it's actually her parents, her mom actually, not her mom did this to like create a sensation. It's kind of
of course.
Some these kids will become their own sensation. Some will oh my gosh, Jeff Lowe was gas station Tate. Oh my gosh.
Good one, Conk.
Oh man,
we still have to do our Tiger King review episode at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. Let's do that one after next week.
Obviously.
So it's
all image.
Yeah, some sensations make themselves. Some are run by their parents, which I think is the worst.
It's creepy. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then there are those that are like created kind of by other people.
Catch Me Outside girl, and she was on Dr. Phil. Yeah, she has a record deal now.
Yeah, people blew her up, and and it's weird because. The other thing too is just this rising sort of, I'll just say it, the rise of thoughterry in society. She's not even 18 yet.
Who's not 18?
Catch Me Outside girl.
Catch Me Outside girl is not 18? Dang.
Oh. Yeah. It's just worse. It's this culture that is promoting a lot of that without any granted, it's not as bad as what is done to like boys, like this, the Desmond is Amazing thing. Going to a strip club and doing dances as a minor and stuff as a boy, like that stuff gets put under the rug all the time. No one really cares about that. But then when it's like a girl, it's like, it's kind of like, oh, if she looks 18, we'll just pretend she's 18 or whatever. And we're just going to let her do whatever. She's going to get these deals. She's going to dress however she wants and all this stuff. And then TikTok comes about, TikTok happens, and then Sodom and Gomorrah, you know how it happens.
Then you get Project Melody, and it's really men in costumes doing it. I mean, there's no limits. There's no limits.
Right as you say that, Conk drops, not to mention digital waifu, Twitch thoughts, and Instagram models. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the whole works, and either this like streamlines into some new sort of subculture that kind of integrates into society, where it just becomes like a weird footnote. Like it doesn't go. It usually. I'm saying is usually it kind of like it explodes into the mainstream. Everyone hears about it. Everyone wants to get into it, but it just kind of dies off into a little subculture where it's like a footnote. Like it's there, we know about.
Yeah.
Like
it probably will.
Right.
I don't think this could be maintained.
Which is I think is better. Like, very rarely I think it was where you get a huge backlash to basically remove it. You don't have that happen too often because that tends to be more society shaking. Like it shakes the society more. There's more tension, and that tends to kind of cause problems. Whereas it can just kind of go into its own obscurity, so to speak.
No, I think very much like how they used to have peep shows and masturbation booths and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of done away with the internet and stuff. I think we've I better watch my words. It's possible that we've reached peak thoughtery, right? Because I don't think there's nothing more you can really kind of do to exploit pretty girls.
But I mean, they're gonna have to push those limits to see where they can go. I mean,
there's nowhere else to push it. It's porn. That's it, right? You go to porn. Oh, unless
I mean, there is the mainstreaming of like privatized prostitution.
Well, I'm totally for prostitution. I think
I mean, but I mean to the point where like it's going to be more and more accessible by anyone.
Right. I think legalized prostitution is going to become a necessity, and I think we're going back to the days of the harems, and the very successful men are probably going to be polygamous and have multiple wives, and kind of the bottom echelon of men are not going to have any options at all. So we're already seeing like the rise of the sex dolls.
They're going to have robots.
Right. So you're going to have sex dolls and prostitution. And I think that's kind of, unfortunately, the major trend that we see online is these very simpish white knight type of guys dominating these kind of conversations. And then nobody's going to breed. Well, I can't nobody, but it's unlikely a lot of these people are going to breed. Yes. Thank you, Tom. Church-approved brothels. The Catholic Church had it right.
Oh yeah, Conk, you missed. We were talking about the Backstreet Boys reunion tour towards the beginning of the show.
And if you have tickets, stay at home, right? So nobody else can get your tickets.
But no, yeah, it's you see a lot of cultures that have sort of sprung up into the mainstream that have sort of died off into well, not died off, but they've basically started to reside into some sense of like a subculture rather than obscurity. I mean, you've got things like which is good and bad. You have some cultures that basically go into obscurity but become a bigger problem. So like
sure.
For a while, I think most people weren't really sort of the Red Pill movie and maybe other documentaries too and other movements. You didn't hear too much about divorces.
Sure.
So divorce culture kind of blew into the mainstream. Everyone's getting divorced, but then they just kind of went into obscurity before people were like, "Oh wait, people are getting screwed out of everything."
Well, I mean that's actually something I wanted to raise because I don't know if you've been following the UK darling child and the American Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who are out in California at this point, and Prince Harry, has just sold his customized rifles valued at about £50,000, because his wife, she loves the little animals, and he got rid of these, these are the royal encrusted items. He's got rid of this for her. And for those of us looking in, like those of us with red pill awareness, we already know what's going on in this situation. And we know this is not
a mile away.
Yeah, we know this is not going to end well. But for the normies, for the non kind of red pill people, they still look upon this entire thing as this is romantic. This is so chivalrous. It's a fairy tale.
That's slowly dying out, though. That
this was the point I was going to make, is that the more we're seeing of this relationship, the more that facade is falling off. At least for the men. The men, they're looking at it like, what the fuck? I have the women being like, oh, you see how much he loves her, oh, it's the the dark meat has done that to him, and
Prince Harry, Prince Harry is ceiling gang, so that's the problem.
But I think I think we all kind of suspect it's going to end. Let's hope it ends in a better fashion than the other, and when it does, I think it's going to be one of the biggest quote unquote red pills for the masses out there.
Oh yeah. By the way, shout out to PewDiePie, floor gang for life. I was like, what? There's a meme to explain. you're starting to see sort of the rudiment, sort of more like very the meme of the red pill is getting out there, and some people are starting to see like its benefit, like the whole thing with simps, with the term simp,
Cuck.
cuck. I mean, cuck has been out there since the election, since 2016, I think.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's been there longer than that, but it became kind of mainstream.
It's been mainstream in the memes and stuff, but the whole thing with simps. I mean, I hate the whole king thing.
The king thing?
Calling men kings.
Oh, right. We was kangs.
It's no. That's I mean, because you've always heard them like, yes, queen, the empowerment thing. So men kind of memed it and like, oh, you tell him king. Like, and they'll post crown, the crown emoji, like, so it'll be something like, they'll post a screenshot of like some Tinder interaction, like, hey, how's it going? Good, just playing with some Legos. Oh, you want to come over? I'm home alone, and I'm playing Legos. Yeah, but I'm all wet. Yeah, I'm playing Legos, and then on the bottom, like, someone will just caption king, and I'm just like, yeah, it's like Conk is saying in the chat. This is king shit. Like, no, like, and then you actually see certain conventions, here's the patriarch kings, and I'm like, no, like, we're not, like, just no.
Like, I mean, look, I don't blame marketing people for jumping on a trend. To try like the patriarch king. I think it's stupid, but I understand what they're doing because they're not trying to reach us. They're trying to reach them, which are the normies, right? And they're still into this kind of thing. And I don't knock the hustle, but yeah, if somebody were to say that to me, like king, I'm like, look, you don't need to fucking tell me that. I already know that, right? If you got to tell me that, that's pretty fucking weak.
Well, in a way,
that's very low T.
Yeah, in a way, I'm kind of like, well, I'm not a fucking king. I'm a fucking
I'm a king in my world.
Well, I mean, you're king in your world, but I mean, the way that kind of like there's this sort of pristine, sort of high class nobleman, sort of highborn thing, just seems really like, to me, in some ways. Can seem just kind of like off-putting. I'm like, no, I'm fucking going out there and I'm getting shit done. Like, I'm a,
Yeah, you're king of your life. I don't have. That's how I would take it. I would take it as
right. Yeah. E-thoughts use the king lingo to help promote their businesses as legitimate. That is not big dick energy. Well, yeah,
it's not big dick energy.
See, the proper term is it's big PP energy. Is beauty. But yeah, no.
King of the Abbey. No, that's King Harold. He's actually buried here.
Yeah. But yeah, this king thing, it's just as cringe as the queen thing in so many ways. And if people want to call me king, I'm be like, and then king, and then they'll kind of like, yeah, they'll call each other kings, and I'm just like, no. There's only my kingdom. There's no your fucking kingdom.
Yeah, well, I think we have to do like a meme review to go over all the men's terms.
Yeah, just meme review. Okay, no. I
think we're on time, bro. I think we're on time.
We're getting there. We're definitely getting there. So, of course. Thank you everyone for joining us. Again, just as a friendly reminder, since we are, we're doing the show and all this, we're really busy nowadays. Tactical Soap, 10K Rum is the coupon code for 10% off on all their stuff. www.subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers. That gets you to our subscribe store where you can pledge anywhere between $1 to $25 a month. Again, thank you to Edmundo for supporting us on our $25 tier. Always appreciate that support. And we will, of course, again be on next week with Robert Frank. We'll be promoting it. He'll obviously be promoting it. We'll probably get plenty of views or live viewers or even views afterwards. hopefully subscribers too. So
yeah, guys and listeners, whoever might be listening to this, we are trying to finally monetize the 10K Rum channel. I think we're good on the views because a lot of you guys have been very faithful watching us right the way through. But we do need to hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel.
That is our first among many goals for this year.
So wherever you are, wherever you're listening to us, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel so you can interact with the chat as well as follow along, leave comments, and these other types of things. We would really appreciate that.
Share it with a friend.
Absolutely.
Unlike those tickets to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, don't share those. Yeah, share. Of course, like the video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. Of course, set the alert to all notifications. Share with a friend so that they can subscribe as well if you feel they'll enjoy the content, which I'm pretty sure many people will. And of course, we will see everyone next week with Robert Frank on the show.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Hey.